So what if I told you that the most accurate map of human consciousness and like even quantum physics wasn't actually written in some modern, multi-billion-dollar laboratory?
Yeah, that it was actually found inside a 2,000-year-old text.
Right. I mean, it's wild. Today on the Deep Dive, we're looking at some seriously fascinating notes. We're analyzing Chapter 7, verses 3 and 4 of the ancient Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, it's a profound piece of work.
It really is. And our mission today, basically, is to find out exactly why these ancient sages viewed the human ego, like the actual thoughts inside your head, and the physical dirt under your shoes as literally the exact same type of material.
I mean, it sounds totally counterintuitive, right?
Totally, Jay.
But what we're looking at today, it really isn't just religious scripture or, abstract mystical poetry. We actually have source material that outlines a profoundly analytical, I'd say almost scientific framework of reality.
Oh, for sure.
It's this structural blueprint of human consciousness that, it predates modern psychology and quantum physics by thousands of years.
Thousands.
Yeah. And yet somehow, as we're going to see today, it manages to hold a mirror right up to our most, cutting-edge discoveries.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Mhm.
Because the sheer density of the notes we have on the table right now is, it's staggering.
Oh, yeah. We've got a lot to get through.
We are essentially attempting to map the entire universe here. But before we get to the actual architecture of reality, which is detailed in verse 4, the notes suggest we really have to start with the people who are trying to read the map. Like, we have to understand why so few of us even bother looking for it in the first place.
Precisely, because you can't really understand the geography of the destination without, understanding the psychology of the traveler.
Right.
Which brings the text to this rather stark, almost sociological observation in verse 3.
Okay, let's hear it.
So the first half of this verse states, in Sanskrit, Manoyen sahasraya kashid yatati site.
And the translation on that is roughly, out of thousands of humans, scarcely one strives for perfection. Is that right?
Strives for spiritual perfection, yeah.
Yeah.
Or ultimate truth. The text is basically laying down this baseline reality about human behavior.
Okay.
It's observing that the vast, vast majority of people are, well, for lack of a better phrase, walking around completely asleep at the wheel.
Just totally zoned out.
Exactly. They are operating on a strict biological and societal automatic pilot.
But why, though? I mean, I look around and human beings are naturally curious, right? We build telescopes, we explore the deep oceans, we send rovers to Mars. Why does this ancient text argue that when it comes to understanding our own reality, we just, default to autopilot?
Well, because curiosity about the external world serves our survival.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, deep internal inquiry into the actual nature of reality does not, at least, not in a primal biological sense.
Okay, so it's an evolution thing.
Exactly. From an evolutionary biology standpoint, our brains are literally wired for that autopilot mode because the human brain consumes an enormous amount of our daily caloric intake just to function normally.
Right, it's a super energy-hungry organ.
Extremely. So questioning your fundamental reality, examining the actual mechanics of your own consciousness is incredibly metabolically expensive.
Wait, really? So you're saying my brain actually wants me to just follow the herd because it saves energy, like physical calories?
Basically, yes. Our evolutionary imperative is really simple. Survive, reproduce, and, secure your status within the tribe so you aren't cast out into the cold.
Yeah.
If you spend your days sitting under a tree, deeply questioning the nature of the ego, you might miss the tiger sneaking up on you. Or you might fail to gather enough food for the winter.
Right, you're a liability to the tribe.
Exactly. So biology aggressively drives us toward the immediate, tangible environment. And then human society takes that biological drive and just builds an entire infrastructure around it.
Oh, man, yeah.
The societal script tells us that quote-unquote reality is just about baseline survival, climbing the social ladder, and running endlessly on this consumerist hedonic treadmill.
A hedonic treadmill, I love that term. It's like playing a massive open-world video game.
Okay.
You spawn into the game as a character, and immediately the screen is just flashing with all these tasks, right? Like, collect these coins, level up your armor, get a better house, increase your popularity score.
Get the bigger car.
Get the bigger car. And almost every player just starts wildly grinding for those points. We check our 401k balances, we chase likes on Instagram, we obsess over the next promotion at work, and we just do it blindly, running from quest to quest without ever hitting pause.
That is the hedonic treadmill in a nutshell, yeah.
But the wild thing is, almost nobody ever hits the pause menu to ask, wait, what is this game actually about?
Right. Who made it?
Yeah. Who designed these rules? Is the entire point of my actual life really just to collect the most digital coins before the timer runs out?
And that's exactly it. Deciding to hit that pause button, it's considered a radically disruptive act.
Yeah.
It goes against absolutely everything your biology is screaming at you to do, and it goes against everything the economy needs you to do.
Oh, society hates when you hit pause.
It really does. Society needs you to keep running on that treadmill, desiring that next dopamine hit, the next level of armor in your video game analogy.
Right.
Waking up from that default programming requires immense friction against the grain of basic human nature. And that is why the Gita says, out of thousands, scarcely one strives. It's an incredibly rare anomaly to even ask the question.
Okay, but let me push back on this ancient perspective for a second here with some modern context, because if I look around right now, I'm not seeing this extreme rarity. I mean, I see meditation apps on literally every single smartphone.
Sure.
There are mindfulness seminars in corporate boardrooms. There are yoga and wellness retreats on like every corner in every major city. It feels like everyone is hitting that pause button and trying to self-actualize. Hasn't this striding become pretty common today?
It certainly looks that way on the surface, I'll give you that. But this is where the source notes draw a very, very sharp distinction. And it brings us to the second half of verse 3.
Okay.
The Sanskrit reads, Yatama pisidana kashin maiveti tatvata.
And that means?
It translates to, even among those who strive and achieve some success, scarcely one truly knows the ultimate truth in essence.
In essence.
Right. The key word there is tatvata, in essence. It describes a phenomenon that our sources call the funnel of self-actualization.
The funnel. Okay, so a funnel implies that a lot of people go in at the top, but very few actually come out the bottom. Where are all these people with their meditation apps getting stuck?
They get stuck in what we might call the trap of intermediate benefits. When people step off that baseline hedonic treadmill, the one driven purely by money and status, they often just step onto a slightly more refined, subtle treadmill. They stop at surface-level wellness.
Wait, what do you mean by a subtle treadmill?
Well, think about how mindfulness is commodified today.
Oh, heavily commodified.
Right. A lot of people are using 10 minutes of guided breathing, not to, pierce through the illusion of their ego, but just to lower their blood pressure enough so they can endure another 10 hours at a miserable corporate job.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Treating meditation merely as a productivity hack or a way to be a more efficient, slightly less stressed cog in the machine, that is not seeking the truth. It's just a newer, shinier coping mechanism.
That is, wow. Okay, so going back to my video game analogy, you aren't pausing the game to figure out the code. You're just using the tools of awakening to get a buff so you can grind for coins more efficiently.
It's a brilliant way to phrase it, yes. You are basically soothing the ego, making its cage a little more comfortable rather than transcending it.
Man.
To achieve what the text calls knowing the ultimate truth in its pure essence, tatvata, that requires radical honesty. It means completely stripping away illusions and looking at the very foundation of who you think you are.
And that's scary.
It's terrifying for most people. When the safety nets of your identity start to unravel, the natural human instinct is to grab onto something comfortable.
Right, like a pleasant feeling.
Exactly, like a nice feeling of emotional calm and declare, I've made it. I'm enlightened. And that's why, even among the strivers, the seekers, scarcely one goes all the way to the bottom of the funnel.
Reading through these notes and hearing you explain it, it could almost feel a bit gatekeepy or discouraging. Like, why even bother trying if the odds are basically 1 in a million?
Yeah, but the text clarifies that Krishna, highlighting this rarity, it isn't meant to be elitist.
Right, not at all. It's actually meant to instill this deep sense of gratitude and urgency in the reader, or, for that matter, in the listener right now.
Absolutely.
Like, if you were listening to this deep dive right now while you drive to work or fold your laundry, and you're genuinely curious about the mechanics of your own consciousness, you possess a tremendously rare trait. You've already made it through the widest part of that funnel. You've looked at the video game and asked, is this it? And the text is essentially saying, protect that feeling. Do not take that curiosity for granted.
Because once you realize how rare it is to even desire the truth, the natural next step is to ask, well, what exactly is the truth I'm looking for?
Right.
If I strip away my ego, my job title, my societal conditioning, what does the raw machinery of the universe actually look like?
And that leads us perfectly out of the psychology of the seeker and straight into verse 4, where the text lays out the foundational taxonomy of the universe, the actual map.
Yes. So verse 4 introduces the concept of aparaprakriti, which translates to the lower or material nature. And it explicitly divides this material nature into 8 distinct parts.
8 parts.
Yeah, the Sanskrit phrase is binapratiradaha, eightfold divided nature.
Okay, 8 building blocks of reality. The notes break this down into 2 sections, right? So the first 5 elements represent the external physical universe, and the final 3 represent the internal cognitive world.
That's right.
Let's start with the physical. The 5 elements are earth, water, fire, air, and space.
Correct. Bhumi, apa, anala, vayu, and kam.
Now, I have to be completely honest here. When I first read earth, water, fire, air, my mind immediately went to Captain Planet.
Right. Right.
It sounds like ancient, mystical, elemental poetry. Like some guys just looked around, saw some dirt, a river, a campfire, and the wind, and said, yep, that's everything.
Yeah.
But the source notes go in a completely different direction.
A very different direction.
How on earth does this ancient list map onto a modern physicist's structural blueprint of reality?
Well, it maps perfectly when you understand that the ancient sages weren't talking about literal puddles of water or literal campfires.
Oh, okay.
They were describing the ascending states of matter and energy.
States of matter.
Right. Let's break down the mechanics. So Earth, or bhumi, it isn't just the dirt in your garden. It represents the entire solid state of matter, its mass, atomic density, the physical structures that provide resistance and form.
Okay, so it's anything solid, like a rock, a piece of wood, the bones in my physical body.
Exactly, yes. Then you move up a level to water, or apa. This represents the liquid state, but more fundamentally, it represents the principle of cohesion and fluidity.
Cohesion.
Yeah, it's how molecules bind together and flow, which, as we know, is the absolute prerequisite for all biological life.
Got it. Solid state, liquid state.
Yeah.
Then we have fire, or analo. Obviously, based on this pattern, they don't just mean burning wood.
No, analo represents thermal energy, plasma, and transformation.
Ah.
In a macro sense, it's the intense heat of a star. In a micro sense, it's the metabolism in your body. It is the active, energetic force that actually breaks down one state of matter and transforms it into another.
Like melting.
Right. Ice melts into water through heat. Water turns to steam through heat.
Which perfectly tees up the 4th element, air or vayu.
Exactly. Vayu represents the gaseous state. It's kinetic motion, the movement of molecules, expansion, breath. If you look at the progression of just these 4, you can clearly see a highly sophisticated understanding of physical states.
Right, it's a ladder.
It is. Moving from the most dense and tangible, which is solid mass, up through liquid, then thermal energy and gas, becoming progressively more subtle, less dense, and less visible as you go up.
But they didn't stop at gas. And this brings us to the 5th physical element, which is the one that really made me sit up in my chair when I was reading. Space, or ether. And the Sanskrit word the text uses is kam.
Kam, yes.
Because up until fairly recently, I mean, even classical modern physics kind of thought of space as just, an empty box.
Right, a void.
Just a vast nothingness where the other 4 elements just bounced around and interacted. But the notes argue this ancient concept of kam is completely different from that.
It is entirely different, and this is where the text so beautifully aligns with modern quantum field theory.
Quantum field theory.
Yes. In classical physics, as you just said, space was just an empty stage. But modern physics tells us that a vacuum isn't truly empty at all. It is a bubbling field of potential energy. It is the space-time fabric itself, a matrix that bends, curves, and actually gives rise to particles.
So they didn't view space as just nothing.
No, not at all. The ancient sages intuitively understood that kam is a highly subtle, pervasive substance. It is the foundational matrix that generates and holds all the other states of matter and energy.
That's wild.
Yeah. Sound, for example, was considered the specific property of kam. It is the continuum in which absolutely everything else exists.
That is just incredible. So we have this 5-tier stack of the physical universe, right? Solid mass, liquid cohesion, thermal plasma, kinetic gas, and the quantum vacuum of space-time.
Exactly.
That basically covers the entire external world. But verse 4 explicitly states there are 8 parts to material nature. We've only covered 5.
And this transition right here is where the genius of the Gita truly shines.
Okay.
because it moves seamlessly from mapping the external macroscopic universe to mapping the internal subjective universe. The final three elements of this eightfold architecture, they map our inner cognitive processing.
The intercognitive stack. Okay.
Yes. The three layers of subtle cognition: the mind, the intellect, and the ego. Let's start with the base layer, which the text calls the mind, or mana.
You know, while I was reading the descriptions of these three, I kept trying to find a modern equivalent to picture how they all interact with each other.
Okay, what did you come up with?
Well, what I kept coming back to was a massive high-stress corporate office building.
Oh, I like that. So how does the mana fit into the corporate structure?
So in this analogy, the mind, the mana, is the mail room and the front desk reception area on the ground floor.
Okay.
Its entire job is just raw sensory processing. It's constantly getting flooded with chaotic inputs from the outside world. Every single sight, sound, smell, physical craving, immediate emotional reaction, it all gets dumped right on the reception desk.
That's a great image.
It's the hub of raw desires and aversions. Like, I smell coffee, I want coffee. Or, I hear a loud siren, I feel panicked. It's just a constant chaotic flood of data coming in from the 5 physical elements we just talked about.
That is a very accurate representation of mana. It is a vital faculty, right, because we need to perceive the world, but it has absolutely no real discernment.
Right.
It doesn't plan for the future. It doesn't weigh moral consequences. It merely receives data and reacts instantly with desire or aversion, which is exactly why a corporate office needs the next level up the ladder.
The intellect.
Right, which the text calls booty.
So in the building, the booty is the rational, high-level executive sitting up in the quiet corner office, the actual executive function.
Exactly.
So the mailroom on the ground floor is screaming, I smell donuts. I want a donut right now.
Mm-hmm.
But that raw request gets sent up to the executive. And the Buddha looks at the data, pulls out the long-term strategic plan, and says, request denied. We are currently trying to lower our cholesterol. We will eat oatmeal.
That's perfect. Booty is the faculty of discernment. It's logical analysis, reasoning, memory retrieval, deliberate decision-making. It's the thing that allows us to step into the gap between a raw stimulus and our ultimate response. It filters the chaotic desires of the manath through the much cooler lens of wisdom and long-term consequence.
But, okay, so the cognitive stack doesn't end with the executive making a logical decision.
No, it doesn't.
There is a final overarching layer that wraps around this entire process, and honestly, this is the one that really trips us all up, the ego.
Yes. The Sanskrit term is ahakar, and literally translated, it means the eye maker.
The eye maker. So, to finish out the corporate analogy, the ego is the deeply, deeply insecure public relations department.
How so?
Well, its entire job is to stamp, I did this, or this is happening to me, on absolutely everything that occurs in the building, even if it was just an automatic mechanical process.
That is incredibly perceptive. The ahakar is the self-referential identity matrix. It is the construct that furiously claims ownership over the raw data and the logical decisions.
Right.
Let's trace an event through your corporate building to see how it works. Imagine you accidentally stub your toe.
Okay, ouch.
Right. So the sensory mailroom, the manat, registers the nerve signals and broadcasts a raw, unedited sensation of pain. The executive, the buddhi, quickly calculates the situation. It says, physical damage detected, action required, sit down, elevate the foot, maybe apply ice.
Which is completely objective, impersonal data processing so far.
Exactly. It's just biology doing its job. But then the PR department, the akara, bursts into the room and completely spins the narrative.
Oh, man.
It grabs the microphone and says, I am in pain. I am suffering. Why does this always happen to me? I am so clumsy. My whole day is ruined.
It takes it so personally.
It takes universal, impersonal processes, sensory input and logical output, and it binds them into a highly personalized, subjective narrative of suffering.
It creates the illusion of the protagonist.
Exactly.
Think about a classic daily scenario for our listener right now, getting cut off in traffic.
Oh, perfect example.
The physical world, maybe the metal and gas of the other car, enters your field of vision. Your mailroom, the mana, processes the visual data of the swerving car and generates an immediate automatic chemical spike of adrenaline and fear.
Pure survival mechanism, just chemistry.
Then your executive intellect, the buddhi, calculates the physics in a literal millisecond. It goes, distance is closing too fast. Hit the brakes to avoid collision. So you hit the brakes, you are safe. The event should technically be over.
But it's not over, is it?
Far from it.
Yeah.
Because the Aha grabs the microphone.
Yeah.
The PR department starts screaming, "How dare they cut me off? They disrespected Emmy. I am a safe driver, and they are a complete maniac." And it turns a simple biological physics problem into this enduring identity crisis that completely ruins your mood for the next 3 hours.
And this dynamic interplay, the chaotic sensory input of the mind, the calculations of the intellect, and the constant narrative spinning of the ego, this forms the absolute entirety of our subjective human experience. We spend our whole lives utterly identified with the noise of the mailroom, the logic of the executive, and the drama of the PR department. We think that building is who we are.
Which brings us to the ultimate foundational paradigm shift of these verses. And I really want to make sure I understand the magnitude of this because it seems to be the absolute linchpin of the whole philosophy.
It is.
We just listed the 8 elements of the material universe.
Yeah?
Verse 4 puts earth, water, fire, air, and space in one bucket.
Yes.
And then it puts mind, intellect, and ego in that exact same bucket.
It does.
Wait, hold on. You're losing me a bit here.
Okay, where?
I understand how dirt and water are material. I understand how the heat of a fire or a solid rock is material nature. But how can this text categorize an invisible thought about my grocery list or my profound sense of personal identity as quote-unquote material? They aren't physical objects. I can't hold my ego in my hand.
It is the most vital conceptual leap in the entire text. The Gita categorizes the mind, mana, the intellect, buddhi, and the ego, ahar, as part of aparaprikti, which is material nature.
But why?
Because they are observable phenomena.
Observable?
Yes. They are subject to change, to decay, to the laws of cause and effect. Just because something is subtle or invisible to the naked eye doesn't mean it isn't material.
Okay, can you break that down further? Like, how is a thought a material object?
Well, think back to the progression of the physical elements we discussed earlier. We moved from dense rock to flowing water to plasma to invisible gas to the completely subtle quantum field of space.
Right. It got finer and finer.
Exactly. The text is saying that the cognitive faculties are simply the very next step in that exact same progression.
Oh.
They are extremely subtle, highly refined forms of energetic matter. To use a modern tech analogy, they are basically software running on the biological hardware of your brain.
Software.
Yes. Your thoughts, your emotional reactions, your logical deductions, and even the voice in your head that says I, they are all just complex mechanical programs.
Wow.
And because they are material, because they are observable machinery, it means they are not you.
So wait, if my intellect and my ego are literal, observable material energy, I am not my thoughts.
You are absolutely not your thoughts.
Jeez.
In modern psychological frameworks, particularly in therapies like acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT, we use a concept called cognitive diffusion.
Cognitive diffusion, like diffusing yourself from the cognitive process, like detaching the bomb from the wire.
That's a great visual, yeah.
Yeah.
When you are fused with a thought, you believe you are the thought. If the thought says, I am a failure, you physically feel like a failure.
Right.
But when you treat the mind the way verse 4 treats the mind, as an observable material mechanism, it fundamentally alters your entire relationship to your own identity.
How so?
Well, if your mind is just material machinery doing its job, it means it can be watched. And if it can be watched, logic dictates that you must be the entity watching it.
Oh, wow.
You are the pure awareness, the silent consciousness that sits quietly behind the corporate office, just watching the employees run around.
Going back to the tech analogy, the ego, the thoughts, the anxiety, they are just software. Really complex and sometimes really loud and buggy software running on the material hardware of your body.
Right.
But you are not the software. You are the user sitting in the chair staring at the screen.
Precisely. And realizing this, internalizing this, is what it actually means to reach the bottom of the funnel we discussed earlier.
Man, think about how viscerally practical that is for the listener right now. I mean,
Yeah.
if you are feeling overwhelmed today, if your anxiety is spiking because of a work deadline or a fight with your partner or just, looking at the news, this text is offering a profound way out.
It really is.
That anxiety isn't your soul. It's just your sensory mailroom reacting to data. It's just material machinery grinding away, doing exactly what it was programmed to do by biology. You don't have to be trapped inside the machine. You can diffuse from the cognition.
You can just observe it. You can literally sit back and say, look at my manan generating a fear response right now. Look at my booty frantically trying to calculate a way out of it. Look at my ahakara trying to make this all about my personal worth.
It instantly relieves the immense pressure of that hedonic treadmill.
Yes.
When you finally realize that the thing running on the treadmill, the thing that wants the coins, the status, the applause, is just the ego software. The true self is free to step off. You can just stand on the side and watch the treadmill spin.
Exactly.
And this is exactly what verse 3 was challenging us to do when it talked about knowing reality in essence. Tatvata. It means recognizing the mechanical, material nature of your own mind.
It is a complete and total deconstruction of what we consider to be reality. Verse 4 takes everything we identify with, our bodies, our physical environment, our emotions, our logic, and our identity, and neatly places it all in the bucket labeled observable material machinery.
It's brilliant.
But as any good map does, this framework perfectly sets the stage for the next ultimate question.
Which is?
If the universe, our bodies, and even our minds and egos are all just material nature, just prakriti, what is the power source? What is the life force that is actually plugging the machine in and turning it on? The next verse in the text, verse 5, which we aren't covering in today's notes, but it serves as the ultimate climax to this entire thought process. It reveals the answer. It introduces the higher conscious energy, the pure awareness that actually animates all of this physical and subtle machinery, the observer we've been hinting at this whole time.
I cannot wait to get into that next time because this has been an absolutely incredible journey today.
It's heavy stuff, but so rewarding.
It really is. I mean, we started with the harsh but motivating sociological reality of verse 3. The extreme rarity of waking up from the automatic pilot of society, fighting our own biological evolution, and deciding to truly seek the essence of reality, rather than just, settling for a surface-level wellness hack.
Right, avoiding the trap of the funnel of self-actualization.
Exactly. And then we dove headfirst into the map provided by verse 4. We explored how the ancient elemental building blocks, earth, water, fire, air, and the quantum vacuum of space map perfectly onto modern physical sciences. And then that ultimate twist. Realizing that the entire physical universe is made of the exact same material stuff as our own inner cognitive stack. The mailroom of our mind, the executive of our intellect, and the PR department of our ego are all just observable material software.
A profound realization that fundamentally changes how you interact with your own thoughts forever.
It really does. But before we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to leave everyone listening with a final puzzle to mull over.
Oh, I love a good puzzle.
We've just spent all this time deconstructing the mind. So I want you to apply it right now, in real time. If your mind, your intellect, and even your deepest, most intimate sense of ego, that little voice inside your head right now saying, I really enjoyed this deep dive, or I don't agree with that analogy, or I need to get back to work, all of that is just material software running as programming. Then when you finally strip all of that machinery away, who is the I that is actually left listening?